Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating idea from physicist Amit Goswami's book, The Quantum Doctor. What if healing isn't just about fixing a broken machine? What if it's about bridging that huge gap between science and spirit? Well, let's get into it.
All right, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll look at the big conflict happening in medicine right now, and then we'll introduce this new way of thinking based on consciousness. We're going to get into the 4 key quantum principles that back it all up, see how it brings everything together, and finally, talk about what it all means for you.
Okay, so first things first, the book makes a really strong point that to understand this new approach to healing, we have to get our heads around the major conflict that's right at the heart of medicine today.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Is your body just a machine? Because this one question, this is what splits the entire philosophy of medicine right down the middle, and it changes everything about how we approach getting well. And this is really the core of that divide. On one side, you've got conventional medicine, which, for the most part, treats the body like a really complex machine that needs fixing. But on the other side, you have this quantum view that sees the body as something more. It's seen as an expression of consciousness, which means our minds, our emotions, even our spirit are all part of the picture. And this clash, it creates what the book calls a paradigm war. It leaves a lot of us kind of caught in the middle, right? We get confused by the limits and side effects of conventional medicine, especially for chronic illness. But we're also maybe a little skeptical about the science behind some alternative practices. So how in the world do you resolve a conflict like that? Well, the book proposes this incredibly powerful new paradigm to bridge the gap. And it's not about picking a side, it's about building on a totally new foundation. And this is the foundation. It's a huge shift in thinking. What if consciousness isn't something our brain just produces? What if, as spiritual traditions have said for centuries, and quantum physics is now starting to suggest, consciousness is literally the foundation of reality itself? This is exactly where quantum physics gives us a whole new language to talk about this. See, instead of a universe made of fixed, solid things, it describes a universe of pure possibility. And what is it that chooses from all those possibilities and turns them into the reality we experience? You guessed it, consciousness. So when you start with this consciousness-first perspective, grounded in quantum physics, you get what the book calls 4 gifts. These are core principles that can totally revolutionize how we think about healing. The first gift is something called downward causation. This is basically the scientific explanation for how your mind can physically influence your body. It's saying that our conscious choices, they aren't just thoughts floating around. They actually have the power to collapse quantum possibilities into our physical reality, which directly affects our health. Second up is non-locality. Now this one is a real mind-bender. It's the idea that 2 things can be instantly connected, no matter how far apart they are in space. It points to this deep, invisible web of interconnectedness that just defies our everyday logic. And this is so interesting because this principle gives us a potential scientific framework for things that conventional medicine often just writes off, like distant healing or the very real documented effects of things like prayer. The third gift is discontinuity, which you've probably heard of as the quantum leap. This totally challenges the idea that all change has to be slow and steady. It's the reason something like spontaneous remission can happen, a sudden, dramatic, almost miraculous shift from being sick to being healthy. And finally, the fourth gift, tangled hierarchy. This one completely reframes the doctor-patient relationship. So instead of a top-down structure, expert tells patient what to do, it becomes more of a collaborative loop. The patient and the doctor actually become partners, co-creating the healing journey together. So let's put it all together. How do these 4 quantum gifts, downward causation, non-locality, discontinuity, and that tangled hierarchy, how do they actually help unify these different, sometimes competing worlds of medicine? Well, the book lays out this amazing model of 5 interconnected bodies or levels of our being. It starts with the physical body, which we all know. Then it moves to the vital or energy body. Think chi or prana. Then there's the mental world of our thoughts and beliefs, the supramental world of universal patterns, and finally the bliss body, which is just pure, unlimited consciousness. And this is where it all clicks into place. This idea of integral medicine doesn't throw anything out. Instead, it gives everything its proper place, showing how different practices work on different levels of our being. Western medicine, or allopathy, is amazing for the physical body.
Things like Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine work on our vital energy. Mind-body techniques tackle our thoughts and beliefs, and spiritual healing connects us to that deep sense of wholeness. It's all one system, just with lots of different doorways in.
And that brings us to the last, and maybe the most important, piece of this entire puzzle. What on earth does this new way of thinking actually mean for you and for your own health journey? Ultimately, what we're talking about here is a massive shift in perspective. It's the idea that you are not just a passive victim of a body that breaks down. Instead, an illness can actually be seen as an opportunity, maybe a wake-up call to connect with a deeper part of yourself. Suddenly, healing isn't something that's done to you. It becomes a creative process that you are an active part of. You have the power to choose health. So in the end, this quantum framework doesn't just offer us a few new tools, it asks us to completely reconsider the entire goal of medicine itself. Are we just here to fix broken parts? Or are we on a much deeper, more profound journey toward wholeness and a real understanding of who we truly are? It's definitely something to think about.